Okay, let's get started. So, thank you everybody who's here today. Like I said, I'm going to post this later for anybody who's not able to show up. We're going to try and keep this relatively short so we can get to question and answers. Please feel free to interrupt me while I'm going through the quick little PowerPoint. If you have questions at any point, just go ahead and ask them. Um, this is really more for you guys to be able to answer questions and see what's happening and how to best be mentors, and very little for me to like talk to you. Okay, so. I'm going to share my screen so that you guys can see my PowerPoint here. Right, let's see. I want to present. Hold on. Okay, first of all, this is the mentorship orientation. Let's see if that. Okay, so mission, I kind of started this little company in this Facebook group just to kind of help medical students deal with all of the, specifically SG medical students deal with all of the stress of a million resources and a million acronyms and a million things that we simply just do not understand. So once we kind of finish term one, I feel like we have this massive wealth of knowledge that we can pass on to people. So we're here to kind of promote mental health, kind of give some scheduling support, and kind of just be like a resource to other peers. Thank you guys so much for helping. I get like 30 to 40 messages from medical students every day. So by kind of supplying mentors to all of these different students and all the different terms, you're taking a big load off of me, and you're also creating a really nice support structure for these people who haven't been able to be on the island, haven't been able to meet any upper termers, and are really starving for some assistance. So the purpose of this program is to really create more friendships and support. We're not really expecting you to tutor or to help with any massive support system. We really just want to put the connections in place for you guys to meet younger students who really have a lot of questions about the basics of what's going on in small groups. And I don't know if you guys remember like the first time you went to small group and how nervous you were about your first histo lab, and what you thought like what the first exam would be like, or oh my gosh, how much time am I supposed to spend on a lecture? Like there were so many questions, and when I started on the island there were so many DES groups and upper termers helping, but with everything virtual it's really hard to kind of find those answers besides posting on a massive Facebook page. So this allows us to kind of ask some of those dumb questions without kind of having that back push. So this is just a list of requirements. I'll have you guys go through this by yourself. Basically, you have to pass the term, you have to have Facebook, you have to be excited to be a professional mentor with your student. You can read through the exacts. Um, so the mentor process. So I'll walk you through on Facebook. Basically, you have to, most of you guys have already done this. This is why you're here. But if you want to like, send this to any of your friends, you have to join the Facebook page, go to the right groups, make a profile. And as of tomorrow, we'll start matching you with mentees. So how to use the Facebook group for mentorship. So I don't know, a lot of you guys probably were able to do this last term, some of you weren't, but once you join the groups and once you're matched with a mentee, Facebook will kind of prompt you to talk to them, check in with them, and you can keep communicating with them just on Facebook, or you can add in Zoom or text message or whatever best suits you guys. All right, so we're going to do that now. So like I said, most of you guys have probably already done this, but we will show you here. So if you're on the Firehouse MedPrep mentorship page, you go over to groups. As you can see, we have a lot of groups here. Your guys is the mentor one. You're going to come here, and across the top, you have different tabs here. You should join, and then when we go back to the groups, you're going to join whatever term you're going to be mentoring for. So that's term one for most of you guys, and you go to a mentorship. So that's the third tab here. Once you go to that, you can hit become a mentor and make a profile, and you'll be able to walk through everything there. We can already see a bunch of profiles here from all of you guys who've been putting them together. The mentees will be able to see that later. So we already have 130 mentors here, which is amazing. Okay, so we'll go back to this. Very quick walkthrough, but it's not too complicated for you guys. So we tried to put some resources together for you. One of the people on our research committee was really wonderful and put this drive together for you guys, which we'll be adding to as the term goes on. It has some textbooks and other resources that you might need. But really, you're the best resource. Most of these students just want someone to confirm that they're not doing the wrong thing, that they're not missing anything. You know, it's so interesting that some professors post Sakai quizzes, some post questions in resources, and everything's all over the place. So your expertise is really going to help them the most. So every week, we're going to ask that you kind of connect in with your mentee. Some weeks in the earlier processes, it might be more than that, and as you move on, it will likely be less. So these are just some suggestions, like, have you been doing your questions or have you only been focusing on lectures? Have you been able to keep up with the lecture load? Are you sleeping? Our mental health here is just as important as our academic help. Have you made any friends, study partners? Maybe you're able to connect them to the buddy system that SGU has put together. How's your support system at home? Is it really hard living at home? Are you living by yourself? What's that like? What has been your hardest lecture so far? So this is not a tutoring process at all, but if, somebody mentions like, "Oh, this lecture on glyco glycosaminoglycans is really hard," maybe you can be like, "Oh, yeah, that lecture is really hard for me too. Have you watched the Borders and Beyond video on it?" You might be able to offer them some resources or, "Oh, here's a physio video I really liked. Here's a YouTube video I really liked on it." Even when you're not, like, spending the time to tutor them, you're still able to offer them resources. There is some troubleshooting. Last term, we had a couple people who were like, "Hey, my mentor got too busy. They were trying to pass the term. They didn't have time." That's fine. Your academics always come first. Just send us a message and we'll set you up with somebody new. If you feel like your mentee needs a lot more support than you can offer, we need you to reach out and set them up with someone like an IEA tutor, or maybe they need two mentors, or maybe they need some counseling support. We don't want you to try and take on all of that by yourself. You're just a gateway to all the resources that they might not know about. So please reach out if you're having any trouble or any kind of inconsistencies with your mentor or mentee. So this is kind of how we suggest you set up your first meeting with your mentor, with your mentee. You don't need to do Zoom meetings every week, but the first time it's kind of nice for them to see a face and see a smile and know that you're a real person and they feel a little bit more comfortable talking to you. So set up a Zoom schedule. How's their schedule doing? Have they been using external resources? Have they been using internal resources? Do they know about SGU support systems like AEP, DES, psych services, IEA tutoring? Do they understand the difference between pre-reading, post-reading, and why it's so important? Do they know about practice questions? This one usually takes people a while to find out about, and you don't want them to wait until exam 3 or 4 to know about pre-test, BRS, and MODO. If you are interested in different practice resources, First Aid publishes Resource Grader every year. So if you click on that, I'll just show you real quick. First Aid, if you look at the topic, so for instance, they're like, "Oh, which question banks are best?" They grade them. Or, "Hey, what's your best resource for, where is it? Anatomy." Somebody's really struggling in anatomy. "Oh, well, this is a really good resource. This is graded really high. I really like this one too." Or, "What's the best for behavioral science?" BRS is here. So that kind of allows you guys to help guide them with something that they can look at on their own. Okay, this is a list of emails that we got from SGU about really good resources. So for non-academic challenges, for psychological services, DS, these are all emails that people really respond to and are really excited to help students out. And then these are the term-specific emails. Okay, so now I'm going to stop sharing this guy and get back to you guys. I know I went through that super fast, but I really just wanted to give you guys, let me stop sharing. Am I still sharing my screen or can you guys see me now?
No, you're good.
Okay, perfect. So I wanted to go through that quick, just so that you guys can have plenty of time for questions. If anybody's been a mentor before and would like to talk about like what their experience was or was a mentee last term and wants to talk about that, I think it would be really helpful for your peers to kind of hear about it. The process, like I said, is really simple and really hands-off on our department. What we want to be able to do is just kind of breach a connection between people who wouldn't usually have that. So I would love if someone had a question or wanted to talk, come join us. I know I didn't like warn or prep anybody, but has anybody who's like has their screen showing show of hands, have any of you guys been a mentor or a mentee before? Wow, everybody's brand new to the process. Awesome. Okay. Well, I guess that's why you're at the orientation because you haven't done it before. Um, so last year we had a lot of mentees talk about how big of a change this made for them and how helpful it was for them. They were really, really scared starting virtually. Like med school scary in the first place. Joining like this Caribbean experience is really scary, and then doing it virtually is like it's just way overwhelming. So you guys are going to be really massively helpful to them. You're allowed to take as many mentees as you want, but we usually recommend like 1 to 3. We're also gonna give access to the non-AEP students first because AEP students have their own mentor through the AEP process in the beginning. And some of them may require a little bit of extra help with a mentor after, but we really wanna provide this to the students who aren't in AEP first, because there's gonna be about 100 or so just this term who aren't in AEP, and they're gonna really need some extra assistance. Okay, questions, comments, concerns?
Yeah, so Grace, I do have a question. Since I am new to all of this, I was just wondering when I think you kind of alluded to tomorrow, the mentees will now be able to access the page. So up until this point, they haven't been able to see
Yes, so
any
some
of
of
our
you have been
posts.
like, "I don't know if my profile is active, like, I haven't heard from anybody," so we haven't posted it all on the Term 1 site. Maybe 1 or 2 has kinda gotten by that and has heard about it and, like, gotten in, but tomorrow is their first day of class and or orientation, so we're gonna be adding them, we're gonna give them access, we're gonna recommend that it's only the non-AEP students at first, and so you guys should start getting, like, Facebook messages from them being like, "Hey, would you like to mentor me? Like, this is my situation." They can also make cute little profiles like you guys did, so that if you feel like nobody's reached out to you in a couple days and you are really excited about this mentor thing, some of them may have been too nervous to reach out to you guys. So I would recommend that you go on and look for a mentee profile and you can select a student that you feel like would be a good fit for you. So this goes both ways. Um, it'll take a couple days for them to make the profiles and reach out. So it would be really great if you guys wanted to kind of work in that same way. Do you have any other questions, Melanie? Thank you for being the first one to ask a question.
Yeah, no problem. So I do kind of have a follow-up question to that. So I know you're specifically talking about the term ones, but I'm also looking to help any of like the term twos or 3/4s because I know, especially with like the term 3/4s now, like they had a very short time on the island and a very reduced exposure to a lot of the resources. So I feel like a lot of people weren't able to make those connections and have that support that, like being in term 5, now I know that I have and I cherish 100%. So do they also have access now? Because I want to make sure that people aren't going unnoticed and unsupported.
Right, so I don't wanna ignore those other terms. Every term has its own, like, challenges. Term 2 is the hardest term where neuro is brand new and everyone is, like, super scared of neuro, and then term 3 and term 4 is this massive transition point into more clinical medicine and path and pharm and sketchy, and, every term, everyone knows that it's the hardest term. There's no, like, easy term, nobody is that, so we have been posting about this on the upper terms because that's how we got all you guys to come join, but we haven't specifically been asking any of them to become mentees yet. So that will be part of the posting process in the next couple days too. Um, Usually they're going to be a little less excited, but people who struggled on the last term are going to be really excited to come and look for a mentor and ask the same type of questions. So absolutely. So yet tomorrow we're going to be posting some flyers all over the place. We're going to be posting for all the mentees to start joining, and that same thing is going to be true where they can make a profile. So if you're really excited to reach out, this is something that you want to put on your resume and you want to have a lot of mentees. Please don't over commit, but, having one from each term is not unreasonable if you're someone who does well academically. Um, and I know that, IEA is also offering, points for students who are, mentoring, so this can also fulfill some of your volunteer requirements so that you don't have to double book as much. So, yeah, that will all be happening tomorrow and the next day.
Yep, and just to talk about IA a little bit, I know we sent out an email to any of our returning members But if any of you guys are going to be new members this term and haven't heard, we are offering to fulfill. So you're going to have to do 4 honors points, and you'll be getting emails about that in the coming week. But we are offering one of your honors point requirements if you get up to 2 mentees. We don't want to overburden you and say you have to take on 5 or you have to take on a lot. So we're only saying 2 mentees. I know, like, since mentees do usually choose you, if you're having any difficulty getting mentees, reach out to IEA and we can see if you take on 1 mentee, you can still fulfill the requirement. But we want you to help as many students as possible. So if you can take more than 2, we definitely encourage it.
Absolutely. And on that same note, if you have multiple mentees in the same term, once you meet them the first time, you can make a Zoom session where you're kind of connecting with 3 or 4 at the same time. Or you can make a group chat where you guys are all talking together so that you're not necessarily always answering the same questions to different people. And then you're also building connections between the students. So sometimes you can kind of be like a pseudo small group where you get to be that kind of mentor for all of them, but they get to connect too. And that can also take down some of the workload for you. You want to make sure that you're still leaving those one-on-one connections so that if they're a little bit shy or don't feel comfortable talking to a group, that they can still message you directly. But, you don't have to do 3 or 4, Zoom meetings every week. You can do one together and just make yourself available throughout the week for text messages or whatever from the students. Other questions?
So you said that you advised that most people only get like 1 to 3 mentees, correct?
Yeah, depending on your academic success and your course load and what term you're in, and also what term you want those students in.
I guess I'm kind of just wondering if, I don't know, if it just were to happen where you were to get more requests than that, kind of how you would approach that.
So that is a great question. So after you have met whatever amount of students that you would like, you deactivate your mentor tab, or not the mentor tab, you deactivate your little profile blurb and it will actually take it off so that they won't continue to contact you. So you won't be available, you'll be full per se. And then if you feel like, you still have plenty of time and you want to add somebody more, you can always reactivate that profile. So that is built into the Facebook system that will prevent you from being overloaded. You can also very kindly say, if you get a message before you do that, hey, I'm already full, please reach out to somebody else. Best of luck. If you ever have any questions, I'm here, just as a person, even if I'm not your mentor, I'm still someone at SGU who can help you out if you ever have a question. So a really friendly, like, hey, I would happy to be helped, but I'm already full. Reach out to someone else, I think is really appropriate, but it is built into the Facebook. Hopefully that answers your question, Hope. Thank you for asking it.
So it's not like deleting your profile, it's just inactivating it.
It's just inactivating that little blurb that you wrote, and it will just be like, oh, she's full. She doesn't need anybody else right now. Now, granted, you need to make sure you do that for every group that you added yourself into. So the multiple group thing was kind of for organization, and it's really helpful for organization, but it does make it a little bit more work where you have to go into each one to deactivate that. So please be aware of that. But it also allows you to be like, I have 3 people from term 1. I don't want any more term 1s, but maybe I want like 1 or 2 term 2s. I can leave that profile open.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. And I know that some of you are also probably mentors for maybe the clinical years or for some of the higher upper termers, like term 5. You may not need to do that first initial Zoom meeting. They probably know a lot more as they're coming in, but they also have lots of questions. They're also pretty scared about what's going on, as always. So you can maybe be a little less formal with those upper termers because they know a lot more about the ropes and maybe you need to be more available for questions, but it still doesn't hurt to have a face-to-face meeting with somebody. I think that's always really appealing to anybody. More questions?
You said that your PowerPoint will be uploaded to the Drive?
Yes, so we'll upload the PowerPoint both to the Drive and to the Facebook page. I'll also link it when I post this video that we're doing right now, so that everyone can follow along and you can have those emails and those resources. And Ms. Rabi, I see that you're on. If you had anything that I missed or you wanted to add, please feel free to speak. I won't make you, but I appreciate you coming in today, even with the link I sent rather late.
Thank you so much, Grace. No, I just wanted to come and see all these amazing faces of you really generous, service-oriented students. I'm just so delighted by this initiative, and my my desire is just to get it streamlined into the offerings that we already have in place. AEP looks after more than half of the incoming class, but there's that other the non-AAPs really would benefit from this connection. And then after that first term, I think what you're striving for, that connection over time and trying to think about making the connections that go through to clinicals is really important. And so I just like to kind of hear the energy and the perspective when these initiatives are coming from the students. So want to make sure that everybody knows we're here to support that. So if you need that help, we're here, but definitely feel like coming from the students, you're meeting a need that is unique. So thanks for letting me be here.
Thank you so much. And for those of you who don't know, Ms. Rabi is chair of the educational department, correct? So you run all the AEP services and everything like that. So she's really excited about this process, and we're glad to have her on board and helping us. So she supplied a lot of those emails and educational links for us to help keep everybody really on target with all of the SG resources along with the external resources that we have.
Yep. So thanks so much for letting me join.
Of course. Thank you. Okay, any other questions? I'm gonna make it available. I'd love for you guys to ask more questions. I'm also available on Facebook Messenger, although it'll be much slower. I'll let you guys go back to your Sunday evening unless anybody wants to pop in and ask a question or two. No? I thank you guys so much. I'm going to be posting this video tonight. I'll be posting everything for the mentees tomorrow. Please feel free to comment, ask questions, post in the group. This is, supposed to be a collaborative process. If you find something that works really good with your mentees, post that on the Facebook group. If you find something that works really poorly with your mentees, post that on the Facebook group. Like, the whole point of that mentor tab is to communicate and to kind of all do this together, So if your mentee needs something and you don't know where to find it, ask the group. We're all a bunch of resources together. All right. Thank you guys. Have a good night.
Thanks so much, Grace.
Bye. Thanks for everyone who asked questions and who joined on.